This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you!
Boring. Boring. Boring.
Okay, you got into it. Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. Remember what you're doing. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages.
Welcome on and all to the unusual and extraordinary and hopefully inspiring station which tells you the truth, gives you our opinions, but never mixes the two. Hooray! And hopefully is a little bit more honest than the British Prime Minister, who is lying to himself, in my view. Please don't forget to like and subscribe on Unprecedented TV, the home of free speech and hopefully of facts as well, where we treasure facts and we're gracious with opinions as well. Now, I'm mentioning Keir Starmer because perhaps by the time you watch this, who knows, if you're watching it in the archive, Keir Starmer will be gone. It's been a very difficult time for the Prime Minister. He has lost a number of his staff. Perhaps even as we're on air, he loses more. Perhaps he himself will resign. But there's no doubt that Keir Starmer finds himself in a position which is precarious, to say the least. And if history is anything to go by, probably unrecoverable. That's an opinion, but I've been around in politics for 40 years, and I've never seen the Prime Minister recover from the mess that he's in, at least at the time of the broadcast. Keir Starmer's problems started a long time ago. In fact, before he was even a member of Parliament, where he seemed to miss things like the most prolific paedophile that we know, Jimmy Savile, doing his business, while Keir Starmer was head of the CPS, the Crown Prosecution Service. How did that slip through the net, even though there were literally hundreds of victims? Then he went after a member of Parliament, Nigel Evans, who happened to be the Deputy Speaker of the House of Commons, wrecked his life for a couple of years. And the man was found innocent of all charges. And since then, as Prime Minister, he promised change, and he has given us change. He has managed to change the dial on terms of popularity, or should I say unpopularity, to be the most unpopular Prime Minister in recorded history in British politics. Now, that is an achievement, but probably not the change he'd intended. In my opinion, the problem is that Keir Starmer has no self-awareness. He's not an experienced politician by his own admission, and he rather foolishly said he'd rather be in Davos than in Parliament. So by his own words, he would rather be in the unelected autocracy of the World Economic Forum than in the elected house, which he is paid to serve. Put all that together, it's hardly surprising. He's in a crisis situation and literally hanging by a thread. It could be even as we make this show, he's gone, in which I'll put this in now. I told you so, because in my view, his position is unsustainable. But am I the only person who thinks that? Okay, my guest today isn't exactly impartial. He's involved with Advance UK, and he's actually standing against Labour as we speak. And that's Buckley MBE, a man who earned an MBE for something. What did you win that MBE for? What did you earn it for, Nick?
Couple of decades work of charity work, stopping young people getting involved in crime and getting homeless people off the streets. So,
MBE stands for what?
Member of the British Empire.
Okay, well, Keir Starmer's a sir, but it almost sounds ironic when you go Sir Keir Starmer these days. Let's go to the big picture here. And as I say, I'm even slightly cautious about doing this subject, but we have to because it's pretty much the only game in town. In the archive, you'll be able to watch and compare how accurate what we're saying here is with what transpires. I would say that Keir Starmer is on the way out. I don't see any recovery for him. We'll look at the details in a moment, but I'll push you to make a prediction before we go into that.
He has been a dead man walking since the minute he walked into 10 Downing Street. There was no way he was going to achieve anything because Labour governments only achieve short-term success because they always inherit a healthy economy. this is the first time where Labour is, in the modern time, has come into power and the Tories have ruined the economy. So they were on a hiding for nothing from day one. And the first budget, do you remember the first budget?
Yeah.
That really was the end of him, his premiership, and this government. They've never recovered from that first budget.
So yes, it does seem to me that the Tories did make a bit of a mess of it. I actually studied economics for a while. I did well at school on it and started in university, but then decided actually economics is really a pseudoscience. And it's sort of made up. It's more about psychology. One of my friends said he'd worked out the secret of the success for an economy. He said, I know how you can make the economy grow 5%. Do you know what his solution was?
No idea.
Make everyone work 5% harder. That is probably true. He didn't exactly explain how to do that. But Thatcher said something, I can't remember the exact phrase. I'll ask the team if they can get it before we finish. She said something about the Conservatives create wealth for you and the Labour Party spends your wealth or something like that. It was a more prosaic statement, I think. But fundamentally, Labour do seem to have utterly failed. You never hear anything about Rachel Reeves anymore. Whatever happened to her? Did she resign as well? And nobody noticed?
I've not checked her CV recently, so she may have another fantastic job somewhere. Last thing I read, she was the curling champion of the world. I think she's put that on her CV now as well.
Maybe she's also the 10th year in a row been the world bog snorkeling champion. Who knows? The thing is, that somebody said to me, my friend said, I trust her so little that if Rachel Reeves told me she was lying, I wouldn't believe her. Anyway, that's another story. Back to Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer's had a dreadful recent time. The whole Mandelson thing's been an absolute, complete catastrophe for him. And it's hard to understand how he got there, but it's got so bad now. We covered on another show the internals of that. But there's Morgan McSweeney, the man who arguably propelled him into government and into Downing Street. He's been fired. Or apparently he left, but I don't believe that. I think he was pushed. And for the strange reason that Keir Starmer says he was badly advised. And Morgan McSweeney said, I take full responsibility for the Mandelson appointment. Now, Nick, the way I see this, that means that Morgan McSweeney is more powerful than the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is so feeble-minded that Morgan McSweeney had more to do with the appointment of the British ambassador to Washington than the Prime Minister. What a confession.
There's several things in this story now. So the first thing is Keir Starmer has no intentions of going. Doesn't mean he's not going to be gone in the next hour, minute, day, but he has no intentions of stepping down because that's why he's let his chief of staff go. And he's probably said to McSweeney, we're going to sort you out later on down the line, maybe a lordship, maybe something else. The reason why Starmer keeps getting into these problems is because he doesn't know how to make decisions. He's a classic middle manager. He gets told what to do and he tries to implement it to the best of his ability, which isn't that great anyway. Anybody, any politician, anybody with a little bit of sense who gets told, you're going to now appoint an ambassador, or it doesn't have to be in any senior position, you're going to appoint that now. We've got this guy, but we know he's connected to the worst paedophile in American history. We're thinking of letting you nominate him. Anybody should have said straight away, the optics of that look terrible. I don't care if he's the best person for the job, but I can't appoint people who are friends with paedophiles after we knew they were paedophiles. You can't blame someone for being friends with someone when you didn't know, because paedophiles hide everywhere. You don't know what they are. But the second he was arrested and let out on bail, he was still friends with him. He still stayed at his house, just like Prince Andrew. It's like these people have no sense. And for Keir Starmer to appoint him, knowing that and knowing he had the secret files from MI5 and all that, and to still appoint him shows he has no judgment. He's just doing as he's told, as he's always done.
This is the thing. In order for us to believe that Keir Starmer didn't know all about Mandelson, it means that he couldn't have read the newspapers, which clearly said that Mandelson was chums with Epstein. He ignored the MI5 reports or didn't see them, in which case, what's the point of all this vetting? Or worst of all, he didn't care. They didn't care. Now, he is a father. I'm a father. He's a father. And that third one is the worst one. He didn't care that children were being raped as a result of Mandelson's close chum. He says he loves so much and everything else. Mandelson's close chum's actions. Incidentally, it's something else that really annoys me, and I said this actually on the BBC recently. People go on about violence against women and girls. No, it's violence against victims. Because every time they say, oh, Epstein's guilty of violence against women and girls, they assume there wasn't a single male victim. And I simply don't believe that. But they're not even going to be looking for it if it's always sexually discriminated against all those potential victims who are boys. And for Mandelson to say because he's gay, he was insulated from it, somebody as depraved as Epstein probably didn't care. He mysteriously died, allegedly suicide. So we can't ask Epstein directly, but I'm sure at least one of the, well, I would say one of the 6.5 million documents that actually exist might hint at boys being involved, and I've heard some backstories about that. But you're right. This claim by Mandelson, by Starmer, that Mandelson was unknown to him. He never did anything wrong. How can we have somebody as dumb as that in Parliament? Is it because he literally is so inexperienced, or what? Or is he just not smart?
A little bit of everything, but it's also this. Labour and Labour politicians have a real blind spot when it comes to paedophilia. Why would Keir Starmer care about the most famous American paedophile? Why would he care about him and his victims? Because Keir Starmer doesn't even care about the 100,000 British girls who have been gang raped by the grooming gang scandal. He doesn't care about our children. Why for a moment do we think he would judge someone being friends with an American paedophile when Keir Starmer didn't even want an inquiry into it in this country? He blocked it. All the Labour MPs blocked it. He was forced into it. And now it's going to be a cover-up. He's appointed a Labour chair to run it. Labour have got a real issue with paedophilia. They think it's the next progression from LGB being gay, whatever. They think this is the next thing, and it's not the next thing on that. It's completely different. It's against human nature. It's evil. But Labour keep letting themselves down on this.
Harriet Harman was on the NCCL, National Council for Civil Liberties, at a time where they'd seriously thought that PIE, the Paedophile Information Exchange, I think they were called, had some rights. This is the thing. And Harriet Harman was a senior politician in the end in Labour. But there's another point you've made, which is really interesting here. Could it be that the same thing that's caused Keir Starmer not to care about the obvious inappropriateness of Peter Mandelson is the same thing that's caused him not to care about the rape gangs? I worked with Peter Mandelson. I could have told Starmer that Mandelson was a liar because I worked with him. And he lied to me. That was 20 years ago. But Starmer didn't know. He didn't know. He's got hundreds of staff at his disposal, thousands arguably. And not one of them gave him good advice. Instead, his big pal, Morgan McSweeney, who's taking the rap now, because he was obviously the de facto prime minister, has been chucked out. By the way, this isn't the first time he's got it wrong. What about Jimmy Savile? There's Keir Starmer going on and on. There he is, Jimmy Savile. There's Keir Starmer going on and on and on about being head of the CPS. And in all the years he was head of the Crown Prosecution, no one person told him Jimmy Savile was a serial paedophile, even though it was common knowledge in the BBC. How could he have? Why does he boast about having done such a bad job?
He knew about all this. Of course he did. He's right in one point where he said he got bad advice because he was probably told, forget about the paedophiles, appoint him anyway. So that was bad advice. But as a prime minister, you should know bad advice when you hear it. But going back to PIE, the Paedophile Information Exchange, for people who've never heard of that, this was in the 70s. This wasn't an underground movement. This was an in-your-face lobby group, and one of its aims was lobbying to reduce the age of consent to 3. They applied for and got government.
3.
They applied for
3.
and got government grants off the Labour government to promote themselves, because they were giving grants to all these far left-wing idiot organisations. They got government grants. They were not a hidden, under-the-counter group. They were in your face. And Harriet Harman, right? She was not involved with Pi, obviously, but she was involved with Liberty, who allowed them to join Liberty. They fought for their rights. This has been within Labour within crazy Labour for a long time.
Yes, it was. There was another woman. I can't remember which other Labour female was also involved in that at the time. We'll probably get the name before the end of the show. So there is a very checkered history with some senior Labour MPs. So we've got Starmer. So frustrating this. We've got Starmer, who has got a very bad track record of taking these things seriously, appointing that man, Mandelson. And of course, we've seen this Labour crisis deepens. As I say, we'll broadcast this, whatever the situation, but it's quite possible by the time people watch this, Starmer's gone. But he's caused this himself. There he goes. That's not Morgan McSweeney next to Peter Mandelson. It's Keir Starmer. You sort of feel like shutting the door and saying, how can you seriously carry on in your job? How can you not see that you're not suited? You're not up to it.
Because if he had that sort of vision, he wouldn't be Prime Minister at the moment. He'd have resigned a long time ago. Look at the 13 U-turns he's done. We're going to take the winter fuel allowance off old folk, but not all of them. We're going to tax pubs more, maybe not pubs. U-turn, because they come up with an idea and go, this will be great. And then they announce it. No one's done any research into unintended consequences and a backlash. And the second they get backlash, they know that week they have to backtrack, which makes them even weaker for next time they have to backtrack. It's one fiasco after another. And this is just the latest fiasco. And if none of them made him question his position and resign, this one won't either. Yeah. The only way he goes is when he's challenged by the front bench. When the front bench start going, we want that job, that's when he'll end up leaving then.
It was Harriet Harman and Patricia Hewitt, incidentally, who were the two MPs who were around at the time when the NCCL, predecessor to Liberty, I think probably at that time, they were promoting minor attracted persons by another name. It's just shocking, really. We'll come back to you in just a minute. I have to remind you, we've got other very, very hard-hitting programs, and one of the most important is, of course, the wonderful work done by Claire Dyer. Watch it. That is Claire Dyer, Dire Consequences. Please do like and subscribe at Unprecedented TV. Thanks for all of you who have. It's free and it helps us a lot. But back to Nick Buckley MBE. During the break there, we also got an update on a quote, and apparently it's a paraphrase, but let me read it to you. This is about Margaret Thatcher. She said, the problem with socialism is that you eventually run out of other people's money. Which is pretty good. And I think that there does seem to be this element where they promised no more taxes, and then they've put some of the highest tax increases we've ever had. Now, back to this problem that...
and let me jump in there. And then for 2 years now, cancelling elections, trying to get rid of jury trials, trying to bring in Islamophobia, religious blasphemy laws. I've never seen a government as authoritarian as this one. I thought the Tories were bad. They started a lot of this, but this government has just taken it and run with it.
And in my opinion, they've also got this balmy climate emergency thing. You don't hear much about that anymore. Maybe Rachel Reeves and Ed Miliband have both gone on a long holiday somewhere by plane, no doubt. Now, another thing that happened, and once again, I am acutely aware that this program could be proved right before you even watch it. But Tim Allen, who's some communications guru, there he is, number 10 communications chief, quits. He quit as well. Now, when you start losing people like this, as Mandelson Fallout Demons, when you begin to lose people like this, it's curtains, it's over. Now, I suspect what's happened is he knows what's going to come out in the inquiry into the documents which were sent between London and Washington when Mandelson was on his ill-fated term of office as the British ambassador to America, but he's gone. Now, when your staff start walking out, you know you've got trouble. When I was leader of the Liberal Democrats in Wales, when I used to be party leader there, I don't remember losing any staff like this. There were some mistakes. Some were made by me, some were made by my staff, but I owned them all. I didn't say, oh, well, it was Jim there who messed it up. I said, yeah, that was a mistake. I should have done better. Internally, I said, Jim's fictional character, but Jim, why did this happen? But you don't go as a leader and basically grass up your own staff. It's terrible for morale, and it makes you look tremendously weak. If I'd done that, I'd have thought, well, what I'm saying is I'm such a bad judge of character that I employ people who I can't trust myself. It's just awful. In the same way that you wouldn't go and undermine your children to other children. You wouldn't do it. Well, you shouldn't do it. So I think that Starmer from every angle now is just completely on the ropes. What do you make of him as a leader?
He is on the ropes, but I'm not sure that McSweeney or the chief of communication have actually resigned.
McSweeney. Yeah, sorry, McSweeney. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I'm not sure if they've resigned. I'm pretty sure they've had a word with the Prime Minister who said, I'm in deep stuck here. Can you fall on your sword? Can you take the blame for this? And I'll try to sort you out later down the line. I think both of them have resigned to try to help Starmer, because Starmer's line is going to be this now in Parliament. It wasn't my mistake. It was my chief of staff's mistake. And I've let him go now. And the communication side of it was appalling. And that was down to my communication manager. He's gone now as well. I need new people around me who and Keir Starmer is trying to cling on. These are sacrificial lambs. These two people haven't resigned in disgust, haven't resigned to bring Starmer down. They've resigned to keep Starmer in place.
That's great to hear you say that, because I feel exactly the same. It probably went something like this. I need you to go. Well, I don't want to go. Well, if I lose, you're going to go anyway, mate.
Yeah.
And then, oh, well, we'll sort you out after. But he can't put Morgan McSweeney into the Lords after what he said about Morgan McSweeney. Tim Allen's walked off. Why would he get a peerage? I'm not sure what else he can give him. How useful is a knighthood? It hasn't made Keir Starmer any smarter. Meanwhile, you've got the circling vultures and the two front runners. There they are. That's Angela Rayner, who got chucked out for her misdemeanors, and Wes Streeting, who's got problems. Angela Rayner, I would love her to be the Prime Minister. Do you know why? Because
of the content she'll help you collect to create.
After Joe Biden left, there was a period of mourning in the satirical corridors of broadcasting. But I think Angela Rayner would be a great replacement. It would just be hilarious if she was in that job. Absolutely hilarious. As for Wes Streeting, probably a bit more competent, but so wet behind the ears. And he's got a problem. Do you know what his problem is?
No.
He's associated with Mandelson, very close to Mandelson.
Yeah.
And it's quite possible stuff will come out there which will compromise him. And it's become so toxic that just hanging around with him suggests he got terrible judgment. That's the problem. I mean,
it's a bit unfair to if it's just you've met him, you've got photos with him, you've met him at events. You can't judge someone on that. But I remember reading somewhere recently that Streeting had put a quote years ago saying Mandelson was his mentor or something like that. I seem to, that's not 100%. I seem to remember reading something like that. Now that's damaging.
Yeah, I think it is. And there are plenty of shots, and there's another one, that rather fuzzy shot. The actual caption to this one was, some photographs aged like milk on a hot radiator. It's not a picture you want to have dredged up all the time. The biggest problem that Wes Streeting has, I think, is the same. If he was mentored by Mandelson, but I knew Mandelson 20 years ago when I was in my 30s, actually, and I could tell he was terrible. He double-crossed me when I was working with the late David Trimble. I didn't need to have a psychological analysis or references to know he was a bad egg. And I said so at the time. I said, I'm not going to work with this guy because he's just lied to myself and David Trimble on an important matter of Northern Ireland policy. But as it turned out, he had to resign then anyway. He's resigned twice from government. I mean, this is the thing.
And that's not a clue to anybody that this guy's had to resign several times before.
Yeah. I mean, it's judgment. It's just dismal. It really is. So, yeah, I see Wes Streeting and also I see Wes Streeting and also Angela Rayner really massively compromised. I think Rayner's probably more popular. It's said that she'd got in if she didn't have all that tax trouble by contradicting her own parties, her own policies, in fact. Who would you put as the front runner? David Lammy's the other possibility, but we mock him almost every time we talk about him.
Angela Rayner by a country mile. This is Angela Rayner's to lose. Andy Burnham, if he had stood at the by-election and won the by-election, but he didn't manage to do that, he would have been Prime Minister. But at the moment, the way things stand, Angela Rayner is odds-on favourite for me. She ticks all the boxes. And Labour, don't forget, are far left now. So Angela Rayner, all my money on her.
Yeah, I just think she's the most likely.
And if she's got any sense, she'd reach out to Wes Streeting and go, which job do you want? Yeah. Let's run as a double act because, you're still quite young. You'll have another chance at Prime Minister. What top job do you want? Do you want Chancellor Exchequer? Do you want Home Office? What do you want? And as a two-ticket race, unstoppable then. Yeah,
it just would be great because it also would make Labour completely unelectable.
They already are.
Yeah. Just imagine Angela Rayner in a leaders' debate. Just imagine.
I'll tell you something else as well. It wouldn't surprise me if she, which she would have already done, reaches out to Andy Burnham. Andy, I need your support on this. And when I become Prime Minister, I'm going to open the door for you to come back to Westminster. And the second she's Prime Minister, she bolts that door shut.
Yeah, well, then she's, oh, sorry, I can't do it. It's the Tory scum that made me do it. Have a fag. There we go. You mentioned the by-election. I'll come to it in a minute. So overall, I don't think Starmer can survive this. I feel he's already lost. I've never known a Prime Minister recover from something as bad as this. Starmer's drowning, and he just can't bring it together. He messed up on the terrible judgment about Mandelson. He's lost people, who knows how many more. They're just dropping like flies. As I say, by the time people are watching this, he could be gone already. But is there any way back? Let me ask you an open, it's a closed question, but an open answer. When do you think Starmer will not be Prime Minister anymore?
2 weeks.
Okay.
I don't think he'll go this week. I think he's going to fight to the death this week. He'll cling on.
Okay, we're filming this in the second week of February, so certainly by the end of February, you'd say.
Yeah, he'll be gone by then. He'll understand. A week from now, he'll understand his position is untenable. The front bench runners and riders will all be active, and he'll be told, it's over, Keir. It's over. You either resign, in which case, you know, there's all sorts of things in the party for you, or we end up having to kick you out, and that's going to damage your reputation, damage the party. He's probably got another week or two before he accepts it, and then there'll be a leadership election. Originally, I thought it won't be till after May, but all those running riders now are looking around each other going, someone's going to make a move soon. And if I don't make a move, I may miss the boat.
I think he'll be finished before May as well now. I would have said May, absolute backstop, but actually it's only going to take more embarrassing revelations directly about Starmer, and then he'll go because he's thrown his shield away. That was Morgan McSweeney. Tim Allen's jumped out of the bus before it hits the wall. He's got no further protection. He's also got the ignominious court cases, those 3 handsome young Ukrainian men to look forward to at some time in April.
Oh, we forgot all about that, haven't we? We forgot all about the rent boys.
Well, we don't know they're rent boys, do we? They're just handsome young men who had very interesting social profiles.
Okay,
nothing's been proved.
I'll accept that. I think Labour will also be looking at this. If we get rid of Starmer now before May elections, we're bound to get a bounce in the polls, because we can blame everything on Keir Starmer. We can spend the next few months going, this is a fresh start, we're correcting the mistakes, blah, 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 and just use it as pure propaganda for the May elections. And they'll still do badly, but they may not do as badly as they would have done. And then it'll all go downhill, of course it will. But they could be looking at maybe trying to get a ex-Starmer bounce out of this.
Yeah, I have to say that I'm sure there would be a bounce if he left, whoever came in, even Rain in the short term. But the other big one, and once again, we'll see what happens, but it's the by-election that you're involved in. We've looked at the odds here. Your odds beginning to shift. It's 80-1 now. It was 100-1. And you're actually 4th place in terms of the odds. That's not bad. Well, you're ahead of the Lib Dems and the Conservatives.
When I entered, we weren't even being polled. Then I saw we were 200-1. Then I saw we were 100-1. So that's just cheered me up. We're now, what do you say, 88-1?
No, 80-1.
80-1.
It's the best odds there.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because we're a new party. But as it's going on, I'm getting more traction, more messages, more people are beginning to hear that I'm standing and what I stand for. My 5-point plan manifesto went down really, really well, because no one else has got a manifesto. They're all talking about national stuff. You vote for me and we're going to stop the boats. You vote for me and we're going to save the NHS. And I'm like, no one's going to do any of those things. You vote for me and I'm going to have a local inquiry into the grooming gangs. You vote for me and I'm going to personally fund an anti-knife crime project for the streets. Everyone's talking national. There's only me talking local.
Nice little advert. Now I'm going to have to ask the Greens and Reform and Labour to come on. They can balance. I do want to do that as well. We might have the Workers' Party of Britain. They're still ahead of the Tories and the Lib Dems and poor old Social Democrats. They're nice people. They are actually.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. If and when, well, it seems obvious actually now that the Labour Party will lose that election. It's quite remarkable, really. And
let me jump in there. I'm not 100% sure of that yet, because what we've got now is we've now got shy Labour voters. So nobody wants to admit that they're going to vote Labour. Some people can't bring themselves to vote Green. Yeah. So I think there's many people out there who still may vote Labour, but will not admit it to anybody. We used to call people like that shy Tories because we're embarrassed about the Tory party. Now I think we've got shy Labour voters.
Remarkable. Well, there's nothing shy about you. Thank you very much indeed. That is Nick Buckley MBE, who was a contributor here on Unprecedented TV long before he became a candidate. So we continue speaking to him. We will reach out to the other party candidates and see if we can get them on as well. In the meantime, I'll just make 2 observations before we finish. Number one, Keir Starmer's dead duck now. He can't carry on as Prime Minister. Abysmal judgment, consistently so. And the other thing about him is that he doesn't realise it. And that lack of self-awareness has been the problem all along. The big one is Labour seem in an irrecoverable nosedive, a doom loop, I think some people call it. I have to say I tend to agree with Nick Buckley. I think that Angela Rayner's the most likely next leader. Bring it on. I think that will restore all the lost mirth and satire that disappeared down the plug hole when Biden stopped being US president. Anyway, we'll see. Thanks so much. Please do like and subscribe. Unprecedented TV. The more of you do that, the more we can do here. Thanks so much for being involved by watching. And the biggest thing for me to ask you to do is keep thinking for yourself. That's what this station's all about. Unprecedented, ruthless with facts, gracious with views. I'm Lembit Öpik, and that was Unprecedented TV's Lembit Öpik Live. Have a good day.
Immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The return of the sausages.